work with large clients with. Now, the e-commerce market, what we're going to cover today in this presentation is about how we can break the language barriers and make machine translation a key part of any globalization strategy for any company that wants to expand their market presence, build a global brand, and obviously improve sales and profitability. And we're speaking about this market today from a position of a lot of experience. In fact, most of our most significant clients, in fact, the majority of our most significant clients, our largest clients, are in this marketplace today. They are e-commerce vendors, they are marketplace vendors, and they sell it across all countries in the world with thousands and thousands of products. And in fact, the number of words that are on these platforms are not just hundreds of millions. In some cases, there's billions of words that need to be translated on these platforms today. So what we're going to talk about is a little bit about what KantanMT, who we are and what we stand for. This is not a marketing presentation, but I will talk a little bit about the company. Then we're going to talk about the e-commerce retail market, about the size and, due to its size, the opportunity that presents. We're going to talk a little bit about the market dynamics so we can kind of understand the challenges that the market presents to machine translation vendors. And we're going to summarize those challenges down into three problems or three challenges that we have to address. I'm going to give you some good news as well, because some of these challenges are huge and very large and complex challenges to overcome. But there is some good news as well that we want to share with you today. And then we're going to finish off with, if you were building a global e-commerce strategy, some of the questions that you might consider asking yourself in devising that strategy. And it's really to help you decide if machine translation could be part of that strategy for yourself and for your organization. So what is KantanMT? Well, KantanMT is a statistical machine translation platform, or very much a platform rather than a service. We're highly scalable, insanely inexpensive to operate, and very, very quick to deploy across for our enterprise clients. And in fact, we, believe it or not, we only do three things in this organization, but we're really proud to say that we do these three things really, really well. And that is, we help our clients customize their engines, improve those engines, and more importantly, deploy those engines across the enterprise. So if somebody asks me to explain in three words what we do, it's customization, improvement, and deployment. That's exactly what we do. It exactly describes the efforts that we put in every day to help our clients reach international markets. We're a relatively young company. We're operational about 12 months, although the software has been in the market for about 3 years. The first 2 years we gave the product away completely for free. But we are only a commercial organization with the last 12 months, and we've had what a hell of a start to this organization. We have 7,500 engines active on the site at the moment, and as of last Thursday week, our clients hit the 100 billion words of training data, which is the biggest number I've ever seen in a spreadsheet, it has to be said. And our clients have also translated over 750 million words using our platform as well, which is a tremendous credit to our clients that they're able to use our platform very, very quickly and start using it in a fully commercial sense. We are a young company, but we've covered a huge amount of ground, especially in our development. And here's just a few examples of some of the first technologies that we've introduced and innovations that we've introduced into the market since we were established. So in Q1 2013, we were the first SMT, statistical machine translation platform, that had a fully integrated translation memory system built into it. And our translation memory system is called Total Recall. It's a really kind of cool name for a translation memory system. So the Kantan platform is a fusion of two technologies. It's both a statistical machine translation platform and also a translation memory platform. And that we blend those two technologies together to give consistency and accuracy to our clients with the flexibility of a statistical machine translation engine as well. Now, one of the most significant challenges our clients face is building lots of engines as quickly as possible and getting them into production as quickly as possible. So we've built a whole slew of technology, which we refer to as Kantan Build Analytics, which we introduced in Q2 2013 to help localization engineers embrace machine translation and, more importantly, become familiar with it and be able to build their own engines. And build analytics today is probably the gold bar standard in terms of data visualization and analytics for machine translation and engines in the marketplace today. Following on from the release of that, there was a widespread adoption of the platform in the market, and within 6 months of launching the platform, we had reached 10 billion words of training data had been uploaded, and just under 200 million words had been translated. And we realized at that same time that our clients really wanted to integrate our platform directly into their translation memory systems or their workflows. So we launched the Kantan API, which is a REST-based interface that allows you to integrate machine translation systems directly into the heart of your workflow. So rather than re-engineer the workflow or break the workflow, we can be very much just another utility or productivity application within existing workflows. Our second challenge was to provide technology for project managers, because project managers had a big complaint and challenge in their use of machine translation, and that was that they found it very hard to estimate how much effort and cost was involved in carrying out post-editing projects. And that was because they didn't have any predictive technology to tell them the quality of the output of machine translation engines. So we put our best minds here in Dublin to that project, and in conjunction with the Centre of Next Generation Localization and the School of Computing here in DCU, Dublin City University, which is where we're based, we built a technology called Kantan Analytics, and it was the first predictive quality estimation technology that allowed a project manager to estimate the quality of every segment in an engine. And by knowing the quality of that engine, just like the way they use fuzzy match scores today, they can predict the schedule, the cost, and the resources that are required in a post-editing project, something that they could never, ever do prior to this. Now, obviously, a lot of our clients, in fact, the majority of our clients, are operating machine translation systems at scale. And in fact, today, the Kantan environment consists of 480 servers over 3 data centers worldwide. So we are a vast collection of high-end servers running this service. And in fact, some of our clients would have, a single engine deployed over 50 to 100 servers, because it, one, the throughput they require, and two, the speed at which those engines have to operate on. So in order to help our clients reach that level of scale and leveraging the economics of the cloud and the ability of the cloud to scale as demand increases, we built a technology called Kantan Auto Scale. And it's insanely easy to use for clients now to do large scale deployment of multiple engines across the network. In fact, one of our clients today represents about 200, actually it's 180 of those servers in our cluster of 480 servers worldwide. And then this quarter, Q1 2015, which is our first financial year, the end of our first financial year, we were delighted to be able to celebrate 100 billion words were updated or uploaded as training data to our cloud, and our Kantan community had translated in excess of 750 million words. So yes, we are a young company. We realize we're a young company, and a lot of our clients take a big leap of faith to some extent in working with such a young company. But we've covered a huge amount of ground, and we've brought a huge amount of innovation and technology to this marketplace, which traditionally has been slow moving and very, I guess, uninnovative with the use of technology in this market. So who are our clients? Well, here's a small list of some of the clients that we work with today, and we work with the very small all the way up to the very, 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 very large. So we work with clients that will translate a couple of million words per year up to clients that will translate 30, 40, 50 million words per day. We work with clients that have engines whose size are 5 to 6 million words, all the way up to the big daddies of the industry who have engines in the region of 750 to 1 billion words of training data. So the Kantan platform is very versatile and flexible in the sense that it works with the very small all the way up to the very, very big. And all of our clients have the same level of service. They get a platform that's available 24/7, 365 days of the year, and our reliability stats at the moment are 5.9, so it's 99.999% available to our clients, which means our annual downtime is measured in hours rather than days. So let's talk about the retail market, because this is a really exciting market, and it's a market where a lot of companies are investing and exploring time in determining if machine translation is a technology that can help them out here. So this market in 2013, according to Practical eCommerce, which is one of these independent marketing analysis companies, estimated the market, worldwide market for e-commerce retail to be $260 billion worldwide. Now that's a serious chunk of change, and they estimate that this market will almost double in size in the next 4 years. So by 2017, they're estimating the market will be about $450 billion, or will be worth about $450 billion. And in fact, they're conservative numbers, because Louise showed me a report there recently where they were estimating that this market is in the $1 trillion mark. It had gone beyond $1 billion. But you know, I use this report because it's from a reputable source, and it has a lot of stats to back this up. It's also an industry or a marketplace that has to operate without borders, and they estimate, the same report estimates, that by 2017, approximately $200+ billion will be sold in non-English speaking markets. So that's very much the international markets. And again, that's a significant challenge for a lot of our clients, because predominantly these large scale marketplace companies have developed their technology predominantly in English. So if you look at the biggest vendor out there today, they have approximately 6 billion words of English on their site describing all the products and services and iPhones and electronic gadgets and bikes and cars and household goods and lawn goods that they sell. The predominant language for that is English, and if they want to reach international markets and unlock that 200 billion market, they need to obviously operate without borders, or they have to, their website has to operate across those borders. There's approximately, according to the XUnit annual report for last year, there's approximately 1 billion customers working today on the internet and buying stuff across the internet, and there's the breakdown based on that QNet report, which is very, very interesting. It shows us that Europe alone is 534 million customers that are active and buying stuff and using the internet today. So in actual fact, Europe is made up of 22 languages. So if you want to be successful in unlocking or selling your wares or products to those 534 million people, you need to have that in up to 22 languages, and that's a big ask for a lot of companies. Now, regardless of size, that is a really, really significant challenge for these clients. Again, you can download this report from the QNet site to get more detail about that. You can see that the Americas there is approximately 163 million. So while English may be the predominant language in there, you can see that international languages or non-English speaking countries represent a huge opportunity, a fantastic opportunity for these companies to grow their sales and worldwide dominance if they can unlock those non-English speaking markets. Also, mobile is a big issue for a lot of our clients, because the amount of mobile devices today is just growing at an alarming rate. And in fact, we all know Google last week on the 25th of April, actually only recently, it was last Friday I think it was, changed their search engine so that they would start ranking sites that had a mobile interface higher on their search engines than if they only had a PC web interface. So mobile is really, really important. And the big issue about mobile is that the majority of people that use mobile devices will always want to see the text in their language. They are less forgiving on mobile devices than they are on PC devices, such as standard window browsers or Unix-based browsers. So that's a big challenge for our clients. How do they get that content in a digestible format into the hands of their clients on their mobile devices in their language? Sounds easy to say. It's quite a challenge to actually achieve that. Some other stats here. This is a report from the European Union of 2,500 web consumers over 8 countries. And they estimated in this report, it was a survey rather, that 73% of consumers are more likely to purchase a product in their own language. So that's something that a lot of our vendors are aware of. And while they do a small amount of sales using English interfaces in overseas markets, they realize very quickly to unlock the potential of that market, they've got to address that barrier of language, that language barrier. And by overcoming that, they can quadruple their sales very, very rapidly, or certainly see a dramatic increase in their sales. From the same study, which is very interesting, this is a very interesting study brought in by the European Union. 9 out of 10 internet users will visit websites in their own language when given a choice, which means that the propensity for clients, particularly younger clients on mobile devices, to want to see their language or the products in their language is growing now. So the consumer has choice. When they exercise that choice, they want to see it in their language. We have to be mindful of that in developing an e-commerce strategy for our working with our clients in developing an e-commerce strategy, taking this into consideration. 42% of, from the same report, by the way, 42% of consumers never buy a product in other languages. So that means for clients that find your product on the internet, they are less likely, 42% of them won't buy it because they can't read about the product in their native language. In other words, they don't trust their understanding of the English to make them make a buying decision. It impacts and shapes their buying decision. So to actually make it easier for them to buy and shape that buying decision, we should look towards translating the product or services into their language as well. So that's a really compelling reason, I guess, to embrace some sort of localization strategy or build a localization strategy for the e-commerce market. And I guess that's related to the comfort factor that when consumers are looking at your site, they prefer not to have to work too hard to get the information that shapes their buying decision. And at the end of the day, that's what we're designing the sites to do. It's to shape the buying decision of the client so that they click the buy now button or add to cart button. Very, very important. And again, these are statistics that the European Union have come up with through surveying consumers over 8 different European countries. One thing that I felt wanted to share with you was a shocking stat. It was a part of the XUnit annual report where they said that 40% of current e-commerce companies turn away international orders. And that's because they can't fulfill those orders, they don't have any presence in those markets, or they just can't understand what the client has actually ordered on their site because they don't speak their language. So that's quite a big opportunity there. So what are the challenges then for global e-commerce clients that we work with? Well, the first one is to sell seamlessly across language boundaries. And the reason they have to do that is because of the stats that we've just looked at. 42% of consumers never buy a product in languages other than their own. And then 40% of current e-commerce companies will turn away international orders because they can't fulfill them. So that's a big issue. So they have to sell seamlessly across language boundaries. So English is just another language to these companies. It has to be just another language. It's not the only language or sole language. They have to view English as just part of a set of languages that they have to embrace. They have to offer personalization on their sites. So remember that, again, that drives consumers. 73% of consumers are more likely to purchase a product in their own language. So the consumer wants to choose the language that they read about the product in. And remember, that interesting stat by the European Union was 9 out of 10 internet users will only visit a site when given a choice if it's in their language. So if you want to unlock or untap the potential in a German market or a French market or a Spanish market, yes, you will do some sales if you have an English site, but hey, you're going to do a hell of a lot more sales if that site is available and it's customizable or personalizable by your clients. In other words, they want to read about the products in their language. And of course, if you do that and talk in the language of your clients, you have a better chance and you enhance your chances of building a trustworthy e-commerce brand in those markets. And that's important because brand is all about trust. And trust is helping clients make buying decisions in as easy a way as possible. So shaping that decision by providing local language versions of the product descriptions or the titles or the pricing information is a key aspect of any globalization strategy or global e-commerce strategy for many of our clients. Now here's a secret. Even though there's over 6,000 languages sold in the world today, in actual fact, we can condense that down to a smaller number of languages that really make a difference. So if you look at the English market today, it's approximately $16 billion at the moment. This is the stats from the XUnit annual report. But if you were to just localize, instead of looking at 6,000 languages and saying, my God, where do I start? That's such a huge hill to climb. If you just looked at the top spoken languages in the world and then the size of their e-commerce markets, you could actually just localize into 5 or 6 languages, and already in those small number of languages, you could double your market size straight away, your market reach. So if you look at the Japanese market, the German market, the Spanish, the Chinese, French, Italian, and Portuguese, you add those market sizes up, it's actually greater than the English-speaking market. In addition to that, if you look at those languages and look at the amount of countries that those languages are spoken in, it gives you a real insight into how you can build a strategy, an incremental strategy, to grow your market sales. So English is spoken in 54 languages. Countries rather. Spanish is spoken in 24 countries worldwide, including the US domestic market. In fact, it's the second language in the US domestic market. If you look at French, for instance, it's spoken in even more languages, 31 languages, and in fact, a high percentage of North African countries, they will actually speak French, and a lot of Middle Eastern countries will also speak French as a second language as well. So by choosing the market size, by choosing the languages that are spoken in the most countries worldwide, you can condense your strategy into a smaller number of languages, which is good for you. It's a kind of good news story in the sense that you don't have to localize into every language. You could start off with a small subset of languages and actually incrementally grow your project and your sales worldwide. Now, if we look at the 3 challenges then, it's selling internationally. We've got to figure out how we sell our products across language boundaries. We've also got to figure out how can we personalize our websites, our marketplace sites. In other words, we have to work in the language of our clients. Okay? And that's not just the consumer, it's the client that's using the site. Because many of our, the Kantan community today, they have marketplace websites where in-country people can upload their product descriptions that they want to sell to local consumers in their locality or in their region or in their country or perhaps in Europe versus say in the States or North Africa. So the content doesn't come from our client themselves, it comes from the community in which our clients engage with. So the marketplace community is driving the content. So it's very important that they have sites that can work in the language of their community as well as the consumers using that site. And in fact, a lot of our clients today, being good at that makes a difference between a consumer using their site than using a competitor site. And then the final thing is building trust in your brand. In other words, thinking global but acting local. Now, I know that's a very cliched statement, but brand recognition goes down to trust across individual countries. You need to trust your brand in order to engage with it, and building trust can be enhanced by providing local language versions of your site. So how do we sell across language barriers? Well, improving the UX experience, the user experience, can be done rapidly using on-demand language translation. So on-demand language translation is related to integrating machine translation right into the heart of your site. So when a client sees a product that they like and they want to, and they're sitting in Germany, they want to hit a button and see the German translation of that product appearing immediately on the site, either built into the site or in a call-out box adjacent to it. It needs to have runtime glossary adaptation so that the correct terminology can be introduced to the site so that clients get a more accurate and consistent description of the product that they're trying to sell. Machine translation can be ideal for translating titles And if you look at e-commerce or marketplace sites today, they tend to have product titles, product descriptions, and in some cases bullet points that need to be translated that describe a product. And if you want to make your site amenable and optimized for searching, multilingual searching, you could have a strategy that just simply translated the titles of the products on your site. And you can prime your search engines to find those words and actually direct your clients to those sites as well. And we've seen that very successfully work for some clients that are in the early days of introducing machine translation. They don't have the time or the money or the finances to machine translate everything on their site, but they have the time and effort to translate the titles so that they can prime their multilingual search engines. And one of the really key things about selling products across language boundaries or barriers is that the machine translation engine needs to be sensitive to locale requirements. So for instance, if you've got a client or a consumer in Germany that wants to buy a product that has been put on a marketplace by a consumer or a client in England, and the measurement data for that client is, because it's been put up in England, is in inches, feet, and miles, wouldn't it be really cool if that German client could actually see those dimensions changed to the metric system so that he sees the actual values or the measurements in grams, kilograms, and metric tons? And that is now possible today with our Kantan environment. We can detect that type of measurement data, that pricing data, what we refer to as named entities, and we can dynamically change them to suit the locale requirements for a particular client or region. And that's really important because the number one reason for a product being returned can be incorrect information measurement data on the site. So in other words, the client expects a product that he's bought to be 5 or 6 inches wide by 4 inches tall, and when he gets it, it's actually 5 centimeters wide and 4 centimeters tall, and he sends it back because it's the wrong dimension on the website. So we've got to be really cognizant of that. We have to build systems that are flexible enough to actually allow that named entity recognition happen and the correct conversion actions. And of course, machine translation makes it instantaneous. So in other words, it's not a case that a client has to request product information in their language. It can be easily integrated into a site, and it can be quick, immediate, and it can be on demand. And that's why the Kantan environment was built with auto scale technology built into it, so that as more and more people start to use your site, the actual engines start to scale up automatically, and we can get higher throughputs. And it reacts instantaneously to the amount of clients that are actually surfing or using your particular site. In terms of personalization of a marketplace is absolutely key for many of our clients in order to get wide adaptation in local regions. And marketplace personalization is required on two fronts. First of all, the person that's uploading the products that they want to sell, they need to see the return policies and the tax policies for their region in their markets, and they change on a regular basis. So machine translation is very, very useful for that, to maintain consistency with current local practices. But there's also getting started guides and usability guides and lots of training briefs and technical and marketing materials that can also be machine translated so that clients or users of the marketplace can actually personalize it directly for themselves. And in fact, I must say one of the best interfaces I've seen for this is on the Amazon site. If you go up and create your own marketplace, it has tons of these type of documents to help you get started in every country in the world, and they're all translated into local languages to help you understand how to work in your language and build a marketplace in your region. So how do we build a global brand? Well, building a global brand, I think we've made the case for translation. It's well known. We don't have to translate into every language. There's 6,000 languages spoken out there. But to go global, you can build trust build trust in your client base by just localizing into a small number of languages. So it doesn't have to be an elephant task in terms of being a huge task. It can be much smaller and it can be much more focused. And an example of this, as I mentioned earlier on, consider the situation that if you're only in English today, your market's about 200 billion, But if you localize into 6 languages and build trust with your clients around those 6 languages and build your brand in those 6 local languages, you've just expanded your marketplace to an additional $200 billion market as well. So it's not that difficult, and I guess it's not such a logistical nightmare to double the size of your market. You only have to add in a small number of languages to get to that point in your marketplace. So what do our clients consider when they're building an e-commerce strategy? Well, we put up a few questions here which I think will drive and condition their thoughts in how to build a strategy for e-commerce. And the first, and a lot of these are related to the language, because obviously we're in the market of selling language solutions, and the barrier to language is a big stopper to expanding international global commerce. So I think some of the questions that you should ask yourself then is, what countries and languages already account for a significant amount of my current online traffic? So go after the markets that will have most impact in your strategy. And what is the breakdown of our customers based in other languages or based in other countries? So if you have a big following in Germany, well, you know, German should be a good language to actually target. If you have a small following in Italy, it's probably not going to be worth your while to translate your site or introduce machine translation for the sake of building the Italian market. Another way of looking at this is to break down your revenues from international markets and compare them to competitors and ask yourself, where do they operate? So if they're doing particularly well in a market that you have no presence in, perhaps that's a trigger to start building an e-commerce strategy and introducing machine translation to start translating your products and your services in those countries. Another way of looking at it is to look at your client base and itemize out or rank the number of languages and countries within your client base, and actually go for the biggest area where your clients are based. And that can be a very successful strategy, particularly if you're experimenting with how machine translation can impact your international sales. And a very useful question to ask is that, what languages are already spoken in markets where we have a presence? So for instance, if you've already got a presence in French Canada and you're doing some localization for that market, well, guess what? French is spoken in 24 countries worldwide, and a lot of North Africa speak French. If you've already got Spanish spoken, or if you're using a Spanish site, guess what? Introducing machine translation to expand that usage means that you can actually sell into up to 31 additional markets, because Spanish is spoken in 31 languages worldwide as well. So again, a very useful question to ask when you're actually building your strategy for e-commerce. So the conclusions is that machine translation is an essential part of any global e-commerce strategy. It produces a better user experience, and using smart machine translation systems such as the KantanMT platform that recognizes measurement data and pricing information and is locale sensitive, you can get a very, very rich user interface that builds brand loyalty. And remember, 70% of your online shoppers would prefer buying in their native language when given the choice. So by giving them the choice, you empower them to use your site, and your sales are actually going to increase as well. But the biggest benefit in introducing machine translation to a global e-commerce strategy, it actually accelerates your access to these markets and grows your sales and company profitability. So thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate the time you've taken today to listen to our presentation, and I'll hand back now to Louise in case there's any questions that I'll try my best to answer. Thank you very much for your attendance.
Thank you very much, Tony. That was a very informative presentation. So I'd just like to open the floor now. If any of our attendees would like to post any questions, they can do so by writing them in the chat window, or they can post them on Twitter with the hashtag #CantanWebinar. So I'm just going to look here. There's some questions coming in at the moment. And the first question is, Tony mentioned named entities. So can you give more examples of how they proved useful for translating product descriptions?
Okay, it's a very good question. And the reason we developed technology to localize named entities for e-commerce clients was that when we sat down with our clients and we started to look at ways of measuring the quality of machine translation, one of the aspects of measuring the quality was if the measurement data or the product specification data was translated correctly for the clients in their markets. So for instance, if you were in Germany, you wanted to see all your measurement data in the metric system. If you were in England, you wanted to see the imperial system, and it's the same in a few other countries worldwide as well. And the number one reason for product returns was incorrect product specification. So in our native language review for our e-commerce clients, the most heavily weighted error in machine translation was incorrect product specification. So we had to solve that problem to dramatically help them in keeping the returns of product down to a minimum. And we extended the Kantan environment to allow you to detect these using a rule-based system, which is part of our Gentry programming language. So when we see these measurement data, we convert them automatically. So for instance, if you've got weight measurements on a UK product, which is going to be in pounds, and you want to buy that product in, say, France, which uses the metric system, we will actually convert that pound weight automatically to the metric system for you. And in fact, we do it in a really smart way for some of our clients. Some of our clients want the original measurement displayed adjacent to the converted measurement so that the client gets the best of both measurements on the screen during the actual translation process. And we built technology to actually allow that to happen as well. So that is a feature now that all of our e-commerce clients worldwide are using to great effect to improve the user experience and to build, I guess, trust and loyalty in the use of the site with their clients.
Thank you, Tony, for that. Another question just coming in here. What languages work best for product descriptions? So what languages have you seen, Tony, so far that work best for product descriptions?
Okay. It does vary depending on the vendor that we're working with, but there is a subset of Central European languages that tend to be the first ones that they all localize into. And I guess there's probably no guessing or prizes for guessing what those three languages are. They're generally French, German, and Spanish. Not necessarily in that order. German tends to be one of the highest ranked and most important languages, but they're the first three languages that we generally see. And if they've got an Asian strategy, they will always look towards translating it, and it would be, I guess, traditionally it was Japanese, but of late we have clients now that are bypassing Japanese and going directly into simplified Chinese, which is for the mainland and Chinese market, which, as we all know, is growing at a phenomenal rate of knots at the moment.
Okay. And we just have another question here. It's how much experience and how long does it take to set up KantanMT and have it running for an e-commerce client?
Okay, that's quite a lengthy question, or a difficult question, challenging question to actually answer. So the average lead time to build an engine for an e-commerce client, because they tend to be broad domain engines rather than narrow domain engines. Okay, now that's not for every client, but most clients would be broad domain engines. It means that the engine size is up in the 2 to 3, maybe 400 million words. And that's just your bilingual data before we add in our monolingual data and various other brand lists and NTA lists and so on and so forth. And the time to build those languages generally is about 4 to 6 weeks per language deployment. Okay, so that means we can build the engine, we can test the engine, we do about 3 to 4 QA cycles using professional translators, either brought into the project by our clients or we bring to the project ourselves, and then we release the engine into production for use. So for instance, in Q1 this year, we released, that was in a 12-week project, we released 18 engines for one of our e-commerce clients. That was approximately 1.5 engines per week. but you know, we had lots of people working on that project, so we were able to effectively, the average time for engine production was approximately 6 weeks. In that. Now, of that 6 weeks, you're going to spend at least 50% of that effort and time using professional translators to review the output of the engine, take that output back in, finesse the engine, change the rules of the engine, add in additional training data, and finesse the output so that it meets the client requirement and specification. So about 50% of the effort is actually testing, not necessarily 100% just building the engine.